The ultimate one-for-all gimbal is here. Doesn't matter a mirrorless camera, a smartphone or an action camera. The Aircross S can handle it and might be the new king of compact stabilizers, or not. So let's inspect. This is a new gimbal model called the Aircross S by Moza, something that we're going to inspect today. And by the way, welcome to the channel. Michael is my name. Over here, a lot of cool, interesting gear that I test for you. Now, this device is particularly interesting because Moza are targeting it as a hybrid gimbal, a 3-in-1 device supporting mirrorless cameras and also point-and-shoot cameras, smartphones and action cameras. And we know that when it comes to such kind of hybrid products, there usually are a lot of corners cut, but at the same time, we know that Moza are famous for implementing a lot of innovative solutions in their gimbals. So I'm going to make the review of this one from the standpoint of someone who I believe is the perfect match to Moza's target group, because I usually am on the go and I prefer my backpack to be as lightweight as possible, and overall my goal is usually to bring as less gear as possible. So at this point of time, my setup consists of this heavy, well-capable gimbal. It's yet another Aircross model, compatible with mirrorless cameras, and I mostly keep it because it's supporting also the Slipod Pro, again by Moza. Then for the Sony ZV-1 and a smartphone, I usually rely on this. It's coming from another brand, has some issues with the battery, but still works fine. And for action cameras, I don't really use a gimbal because the GoPro Hero 11 by itself has a good enough image stabilization. But now the big question is, can Aircross S help me to get rid of my other two gimbals? So I guess we're gonna find out soon enough. The price of Moza Aircross S will certainly be among its strong sides. Although, if you primarily use it for big cameras, there are some limitations and it is not that much less than the DJI's current basic offerings. However, if you really need to cover that many devices supported, it might be the real deal. So what I'd recommend is to carefully listen to the specs and check whether it supports the gear that you already use or plan to buy in the future. Unboxing has always been strong side of Moza because they've already had a number of fantastic products packed in a fantastic way. Truth is that my current main gimbal is also Moza made, and the major reasons why I keep it is because of the case and the compatibility with the Slipod. So let's carry on with unpacking and make sure to pay attention to this part because it is among the key selling points for the Aircross S. This is how the gimbal arrives. Yes, a mirrorless camera-compatible gimbal at this price, with included carrying case, is rare to be seen these days, especially for a price below $300. While quality may not be superb, you can see that the zipper is not that smooth. Inside, a tripod, L-shaped plate, this one is a part of a gimbal in fact, a smartphone clamp, Arca Swiss compatible plate, and of course, the Aircross S. At the first sight, it looks quite nice, and at the first touch, it's a combination between metal and plastic with not too convincing quality. But again, the top priority for designing this gimbal is to make it as portable and as lightweight as possible. Therefore, in many ways, it looks like a regular smartphone gimbal on some steroids. We can see the structure, the display, the different buttons, the joystick. There are a lock mechanism for each of the axes. So far, nice looking units. When the third arm is removed, the whole thing is very compact. Together with the carrying case, this is all that you need for a non-professional video filming enthusiast. A quick tour over the specs shows some quite interesting implementations. 3 powerful motors, which are covering most angles. There is 1000 mAh battery inbuilt with operation time of up to 12 hours. Payload is up to 1500 grams. Foldable design, lock mechanism, easy-to-use joystick, inbuilt display for settings adjustments, bunch of buttons and communication cables, and it can be controlled via a smartphone app. I've just said that this combination might not be the perfect one for professionals, and here's why I think so. First of all, in terms of supported devices, looks like most point-and-shoot cameras and smartphones are just fine. If you have a Micro Four Thirds base camera, or even APS-C, expectation is that with most types of lenses, it's gonna be alright. For full-frame cameras like this Sony a7C, you better use it with smaller lenses. This is a Samyang 18mm lens, very lightweight, and overall it works fine. But if you want some best practices, before going outdoor and shooting, make sure that you really well balance the whole thing. Really take your time, spend enough time, balance the camera, and also fine-tune the motors. Because even if you skip just part of that, it's going to result in vibrations. Moza promised that in time they would release more firmware updates in order to reduce any possible vibrations. I would say if you plan to use heavier cameras, especially full frame, think about a dedicated mirrorless camera gimbal. Other than that, design looks really cool, easily foldable, pocket-sized almost. I think the quality of materials is just alright. It looks like the priority here is to keep it as lightweight as possible. Now, the thing which concerns me a little bit is this plate for the camera, which is supposed to be Arca Swiss compatible. It is if you take this plate out and put it on an Arca Swiss compatible tripod or ball head, it's gonna be fine, but vice versa, it wouldn't work. I mean, none of my Arca Swiss original plates work here, not even the snap-lock system by PGY Tech, which are by design very slim and compatible with every other Arca Swiss mount I've had prior to this one. And I really hope that Moza are going to redo the whole mechanism in some of the next batches. As for battery performance, they say up to 12 hours, but keep in mind, a good action camera weighs around 150 grams, while this here is around a kilo, so expectation is that for big cameras the battery is going to last no more than 2 to 3 hours. Let's go now for some more footage and use cases. Starting with the big camera body, because here we have the most features. You can use a cable to enable the remote shutter trigger. This is very helpful when recording short video chunks. Balancing the camera manually is of extreme importance. It's a good idea to also plan what type of camera and lens are going to be used, because some of them may exceed the payload supported, and the closer you are to the threshold, the trickier it gets in terms of balancing. The footage taken with the Sony a7C looks good, smooth, and I believe for most situations this gimbal is gonna be okay. Given the reduced weight, it lets you hold it for much longer without feeling discomfort as compared to other models. Good idea is to take a look at the supported camera list on Moza's official website. For tuning, the good news is that most of the configuration features are accessible from the gimbal itself, and it's very easy to navigate through all of these menus. The placement of the buttons is also well thought. I actually like a lot the joystick placement because it's safe from accidental touches or presses. There is also a trigger button which can quickly switch to selfie mode or reset the angles to default positions. Most of the functions are standard for these gimbals. You can take advantage of creative shots like inception mode, dolly zoom, time-lapse. On the other hand, you can trigger those from within the smartphone app, where also some other controls are available. And maybe it doesn't have the best kind of interface, but at least it works well. There are no ready-to-use creative and social media-friendly templates, but there are enough functions for configuration and shooting modes, and also remote control based on your smartphone's gyroscope. If the gimbal is used with a smartphone, it is all much easier and much lighter. The included smartphone holder is plastic, not of great quality, but holds the phone tight enough. If there's a chance to disable your phone's inbuilt stabilization, go for it while you're shooting with the gimbal, because this is going to capture more quality footage, and then you can add additional software stabilization in post. Situation is similar with action cameras. If you put a GoPro, yeah, it can stabilize the footage, although given the remarkable stabilization with the latest GoPro generations, I don't see the need using it with a gimbal. But when it comes to cheaper action cams like a Caso Brave 8 or SJ Camas J10 Pro, yeah, impact is much bigger. But usually these cameras don't support advanced controls like fixing the shutter speed. On the other hand, Aircross S seems to be the perfect match to the Sony ZV-1. Maybe Moza should put greater focus on that niche, because devices like Sony ZV-1 are somehow ignored by most gimbal makers. After showing these few use cases and some footage captured while using the gimbal, good to share about the challenges that I faced, like the occasional vibrations under certain angles with heavier cameras, the non-removable battery, the lack of waterproof rating, and the lack of implementation for easy holding when making low-angle shots. In the end, if you plan to use this with a lighter mirrorless camera, it's gonna be okay, but don't forget that once you go into full-frame cameras, you always want something better and better, and that results into buying bigger bodies with bigger lenses. So maybe that wouldn't be a very future-proof solution. Therefore, in such a scenario, think of something else from the Aircross portfolio. If you plan to use it for Sony ZV-1-like devices or smartphones, that would be just perfect, very powerful, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be compatible with each and every model that you try over there. For action cameras, yes, it's going to do the job right. Question is, do you really need a gimbal for most current action cameras? So let me know what you think of the Aircross S. It looks like it's not going to entirely satisfy my needs, but definitely this hybrid is among the really good ones when you need something which is lightweight and covering really a wide variety of devices. So now it's you. Let me know in the comment section below the video, do you like such kind of hybrids? Do you like in particular the Aircross S? And what do you think about its performance? And I'll be glad to get to know each one of your thoughts. So comment down below, as usual, more information about the product, link with a discount, and some ways to support our work here on the channel, as usual in the video description area. Thank you very much for watching this episode. I hope it was useful. I hope you've had fun. I look forward to seeing you again in our next episode. Bye!